commission that you led in your first mandate in a geopolitical EU. It is important for everybody to understand that, to recognize it, to embrace it, to defend it, to explain it to the citizens that vote and for whom geopolitics is far off. The world order that produced the previous EU was the world order of globalization. Chronologically, peace, institutions, rules, rights, finance, trade, all of that in various degrees, all of that is being dismantled. And we need to understand for that reason that the new EU, the core mission of the new EU, is the opposite of it. It's actually about defending Europe in a world of deglobalization. It's security, autonomy, protection, European style, including defense and security. And everything of the old, commerce, trade, even certain rights and values, more or less become secondary or supportive of the other goal, which is essentially geopolitical. And under that pressure, under the threats of war and conflict, and under Mrs. von der Leyen's stewardship, the EU, in your first mandate, equipped its economic base for that world of geopolitics. Autonomy, resilience, protectionism on our soil, for our markets, for our companies. And that buildup is ongoing. It's never done. It continues on a daily basis. It's a struggle. But that buildup now has to go one step further in a new phase. Started with the second coming of Donald Trump. That second coming has unleashed global tariff war, warfare by enemies, and the erosion of all norms and values. And this is my second point and my first warning. We have entered in the geopolitical phase of the EU a second phase. The first phase was the easy one. The Commission, the EU, was already the heart of market, trade, and commerce. It could swiftly turn that into geoeconomics, retooling trade, protecting finance and markets. But now the second phase, the present, the foreseeable future, is geostrategy, not geoeconomics. It is defense, security, territory, borders. And here we are in a difficult spot with the EU. Here we face areas that are traditionally, persistently national sovereignty. Here we see differences in European history, values, identity, geography coming back on the table, influencing priorities and elections, as we have already seen with the reference to Poland. Here we see the need to go for the purpose of the interest of the EU beyond the borders of the EU, to third countries, and bring them in, like the UK, Brexit or not, like Turkey, and of course, like Ukraine itself. The key question that I have, that I want to say here tonight, is will the EU, will the Commission, as a key pillar, again be able, what they did in the first mandate of Mrs. von der Leyen, be able to be the unifying force, the foundation of a common geopolitical European action? That for this new phase. Or instead, will it be weakness, inaction, or individual countries, alliances of countries of the willing, increasingly setting the course? I know where I stand. I think we are all stronger and better off. We do things together. I believe the EU should be the centripetal force in the interest of everybody. But I'm also less certain that we will be able to avoid this age-old centrifugal curse of European nationalism. And I want to mention 3 points that, in my view, could become choke points for the new EU. One, I mentioned the UK and Brexit. We are now in the world of Amexit. America is exiting from the global stage. Why do we not now have what we did with the UK? A Mr. Amexit or a Mrs. Amexit, like Mr. Barnier. One single point of contact for the EU, so that Washington or Beijing, in the Kissinger statement, we don't know if we want to call Europe who to call, that they know who to call. and there's one position. Why don't we have that? I would love it because it reflects something. If you don't have it, it reflects something else. Two, if indeed, as is the case, the current EU, for it to be geostrategic, must have its sphere of influence, hard power, outside the borders of the EU, the Ukraine, Western Balkans, Turkey. Why are we not seeing today a dynamic of urgency to reinvent what EU membership means? Why are we not seeing an innovation of EU membership based on security and defense, a kind of partial membership, faster, much faster than the old enlargement? We know it needs to happen, and it needs to happen quickly, or we risk losing the influence and losing territorial integrity. Three, we all know what is at stake and what it will cost, what the challenge will be politically, financially, that we have to secure Ukraine and ourselves essentially on our own. Global conflict, great power conflict, is the new global reality. It's the new pandemic. Why are we not seeing in the new pandemic what we saw in the old pandemic, which is through the EU, we generate the tools to fight the pandemic, not vaccines, but now it's rearmament, defense, and security. Why are we not seeing centralized funding, joint procurement, coordination, planning through the EU? Of course, you'll say that's because it's national sovereignty. Yes, that was the case with vaccines too. We overcome it. So we are not overcoming it today. Of course, the Commission is doing its best, incentivizing countries to coordinate, join it in procurement, allowing it with clever financing and debt policies. It's doing its best with a weak hand. The hand should be made stronger, and it's not. It concerns me, and it should concern us, if we think that geopolitical togetherness is a condition, a pre-requirement for it to be a success. Brings me to my final point, since I'm your guest here tonight, Germany. I'm a European citizen. I very much welcome the second German Zeitenwende from the new federal government here in Germany. This time you seem to mean it, so we welcome it. Indeed, I've preached for quite a time that if the EU is to be geopolitical, Germany must turn the page on the 20th century and become geopolitical again. 600 billion, more or less, if I understand it, euros for defense and security. It is historic. It's historic for Germany domestically. It's historic for the position of Germany internationally and specifically in Europe. And that's the point I would like to make. It's a question rather than a point. What is the message for the EU, for the European Union, now that Germany will reestablish itself as a geopolitical actor and I hope also a military force? When the 600 billion plan was announced, I couldn't help but wonder in myself, what would Helmut Kohl have done? And I could not help but think that the chancellor who gave up on the German mark, who accepted the Oder-Neisse border, who stood hand in hand with Mitterrand in Verdun, would have wanted to stand hand in hand with other nations as Germany takes the historic momentous step forward to geopolitics and defense. That he would have wanted to ensure that the announcement of a geopolitical Germany would coincide with that Germany immediately being fully embedded into a new geopolitical EU, of which Germany would be the anchor. And I'm not seeing that. It's a question for me. I don't pretend to be knowledgeable about German politics. It's a question why I'm not seeing it. And it's a warning that I give. If Germany goes for Germany rather than for the EU, if it does not lead the next phase of geopolitical EU integration, enabling the second mandate of Mrs. von der Leyen, then I think we risk seeing the geopolitical mission fail, and we risk seeing political alienation and competition and the comeback of nationalism and protectionism within Europe. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to spoil the party. Madam President von der Leyen, the moment is grave. We are in a significant moment of our history as Europeans. The battle for a strong geopolitical Europe, for a strong home for the European nation states in the world of disorder in the 21st century has only just begun. We give an award here for something that's not achieved yet. It's only just begun. It's a battle we cannot afford to lose. No one can afford to lose it in Europe. And no one can conceivably try to win it without a strong geopolitical EU. So on an evening like this, while fully endorsing the accomplishments and the stamina, the commitment of the Commission under the leadership of Madam von der Leyen, we must brace this and use this to mobilize the energy for the future, because we will need it. Jean Monnet famously said, and I quote, "Europe will be forced in crisis and will be the sum of the solutions adopted to those crises." That's pragmatism. And that's a pragmatism I would like to call upon. The geopolitical crisis is really upon us. Let us live up to that wisdom. Let us not waste a good crisis, as Churchill said. Thank you very much.
You can, Mr. De Vos, you can stay with me. You can stay, please. You can't be that shy, because we will now announce the Politician of the Year. Die Politikerin des Jahres 2025 begrüßen Sie mit uns Ursula von der Leyen. Do you want to give it to her? Yes. Frau von der Leyen, was geht Ihnen gerade durch den Kopf? Sie haben Herrn De Vos gehört. Es war viel Respekt für den Status quo, aber auch viel Maßnahmen, Ideen für die nächsten Schritte nach vorne. Von einem Neudenken von EU-Mitgliedschaft, Westbalkan, Türkei, Ukraine, bis hin zu einer Single Voice gegenüber die USA. Wo gehen Sie mit und wo sagen Sie, das muss ich mir noch überlegen?
Also ich habe das heute Ihnen zuhörend empfunden wie einen Auftrag. War sehr klar, dieser Auftrag. Und ich habe sehr genau auch gehört, dass Sie gesagt haben, eigentlich dürfte ich das noch gar nicht bekommen. Ich müsste noch liefern, ich müsste noch leisten. Und ich muss in 4 Jahren wiederkommen, hat man mir auch noch gesagt. Dann darf ich diesen Award erst wirklich selber haben. Also in 4 Jahren bin ich dann wieder da und werde Bilanz ziehen. Und dann gucken wir, ob Sie das wieder einkassieren oder ob ich das behalten darf.
Frau Dreyer hat ja... Frau Malu Dreyer hat ja eben auch auf der Bühne genau das gesagt, dass sie damals den Politikaward bekommen hatte und dass Politikerin des Jahres zu sein bedeutet, man hat etwas erledigt. Wie fühlt es sich für Sie an? Haben Sie das Gefühl, bei Ihnen kommt jetzt nochmal sozusagen eine zweite Hälfte? Ist es eine natürliche Entwicklung oder haben Sie das Gefühl, die zweite Hälfte wird nochmal ganz anders als das, was davor war?
Naja, die zweite Hälfte, die ich jetzt angetreten habe, die ist schon anders als die erste. Allerdings in der ersten, wenn ich das sagen darf, die Pandemie war nicht von Anfang an easy to go und alle zusammen und das schaffen wir gemeinsam, überhaupt nicht. Sondern ich erinnere mich noch sehr wohl, dass die Mitgliedstaaten in alle verschiedenen Richtungen liefen und eigentlich viel Kritik am Anfang an der Kommission war, dass wir die Dinge nicht zusammengehalten haben. Dann haben wir über unsere Kompetenzen hinweg einfach gemacht. Wir haben einfach gehandelt und das Ergebnis ist im Rückblick dann ein sehr positives. Aber wenn man mittendrin steckt, dann sieht das anders aus. Heute haben wir einen imperialistischen Krieg, den Russland gegen die Ukraine führt. Wir haben den Klimawandel, der weiter fortschreitet, ganz egal um welche Themen wir hier diskutieren oder auch nicht. Wir erleben, dass die Amerikaner einen Zollkrieg vom Zaun gebrochen haben, der es in sich hat. Das heißt, wir sind mittendrin oder am Anfang von schweren Krisen, die Sie beschrieben haben. Und es wird sich zeigen. Ich bin der festen Überzeugung, dass Europa die richtige Antwort ist. Denn niemand
Lassen Sie uns für einen Moment noch tagespolitisch im wahrsten Sinne des Wortes werden. Der Wahlausgang in Polen, ein neuer Präsident, die einen sagen nationalkonservativ, die anderen rechtspopulistisch, fast egal, am Ende des Tages sehr EU nicht freundlich, sondern eher feindlich, sehr Trump getrieben. Sie haben gesagt, dass Sie zuversichtlich sind, dass die EU ihre sehr gute Zusammenarbeit auch mit ihm weiter aufrechterhalten kann. Haben Sie mehr Informationen als wir? Geben Sie uns eine Quelle für Ihre Zuversicht.
Zuversichtlich, dass wir das gute Verhältnis zu Polen weiter auch fortführen werden. Das war ein knappes Ergebnis. Das hat gezeigt, wie tief gespalten dieses Land ist. Es ist jetzt die erste und noble Aufgabe des neu gewählten Präsidenten, dieses Land zu einen. In einem Punkt stehen die Polen allerdings geschlossen, absolut geschlossen. Und das ist die Abwehr von Putins imperialistischen Krieg. Das muss man auch an diesem Punkt einmal sagen. Und ich habe gute Zusammenarbeit mit Donald Tusk erlebt in den letzten Jahren und wir werden weiterhin auch gut zusammenarbeiten. Wie gesagt, die Erwartungen an den Präsidenten, dass er dieses Land eint, sind hoch und alles andere wird sich zeigen.
Mr. De Vos, what's your source of hope regarding, European integrity on the one hand, but also seeing a lot of nationalism, renaissance of nationalism in the European countries?
My source of hope is that notwithstanding all the difficulties that we have in our 27 democracies, we still keep moving forward. And also I think that the EU's success in the future will depend on its ability to move forward in various ways and not necessarily in unison with all the countries together, while still having a common core. And I think that is the kind of transition that we're going to go into. I think under the force of events, and we see that already with coalitions of countries just emerging like that. If we can put that in the tent of the EU, coordinated from the EU, then we have these forces coming together rather than separate. And I think that is the way of the future. And then the democracy is what it is. You have to listen to it and respect it. As I hinted at it in my speech, it is normal because the weight of history and all these issues are now through the EU on the table, whereas the EU in the past was not geopolitical, was technocratic, was trade and commerce, and that was far off from day-to-day politics. It's normal that people really care about these things, and we should embrace that and find a way to kind of move forward while embracing that. So I think that is the key in the political praxis that we will find somehow.
Thank you so much.
Won't be easy on a daily basis.
No, I imagine not. Thank you so much. Maybe you have a photo, a picture together taken? A photo? Thank you. Präsidentin der EU-Kommission Ursula von der Leyen, vielen Dank.